Whenever you're ready.
Good morning. Have you ever wondered how people beat depression naturally without taking medication? Well, today I'm going to be highlighting some of the ways that people do it in a natural way without being put to sleep with medication. One of the ways people deal with depression is writing. Therapies often suggest writing things down rather than letting bad thoughts run around in circles in your mind. This method helps express yourself, bring feelings into the surface. Writing also helps people manage their feelings better. In Paracelsus Center, a recovery center in Switzerland, one of the most successful methods of recovery from depression is writing. I'm going to be telling you a story about Kate. She is 25 now. She suffered from depression when she was a teen. She used to get bullied in school a lot. So one of her exits, is what they call it to escape depression, is writing things down. She wrote in her journal every day, and apparently she got so good at it that she became an author. She wrote this book, Ugly, the story of a bullied girl. Now she's a spokesperson in high schools. She goes to rallies. Not only did she get through her depression, but apparently she got a career out of it. Another method that people use to help depression is exercising. By exercising daily, your brain releases endorphins, which are chemicals that make you feel good. When people exercise, they forget about the things that are making them sad. They just focus on their goal, on their fitness goal. Once people reach their fitness goal, not only does it help with bad thoughts, but it gives them confidence in themselves and in their body. I'm going to be telling you a story about Kim. Kim was suffering from depression. It got so bad that he lost his job. One of the ways he overcome depression was exercising. He would go on frequent walks on days whenever he gets the chance. He said, "I will make the effort to walk once a day, whether it's 15 minutes to 45 minutes." Duke University also made a test on people with depression to see what are the best chances from them overcoming depression. And they found out that only 8% of patients in the exercising group had their depressions return, while the 38% are in drug use, have relapse, and 31% of the exercising group and taking drugs also relapse. That's the statistic. The last method that therapies suggest is reaching out to family members, friends, and online group centers. This gives the person the feeling that they are not alone in this situation, that there is many people out there like them. Helps them also tell their stories and see other stories that successfully overcame depression. In Drew Form's story, he attempted to commit suicide in his college dorm. Luckily, his roommate found him in time. After that incident, he got a degree in business and now owns 2 jobs. But he could not overcome that without the help of his friends, his family, and his online group support. Oh, shit. And that is a hotline. You could call this at any time, and this is an online group center. They could go and search them. In conclusion, I think natural remedies are a better way to beating depression instead of taking medication. Thank you.
All right, Aurora, what did you think?
Okay, I like the topic. It was clear. She provided with information, she will say, the information that she provided. Also the example that she gave, really nice. The only thing would be like her voice a little bit louder. A little more practicing some of the words that she used. It was kind of hard for her to pronounce them. And then she did some more the reading, a little less of that. That's everything like that. The way how she put the whole information together, and she got a sample and she works like that. She back up whatever she says. That's pretty good.
All right. Well, the rhetorical question that you have at the beginning of the speech felt a little bit odd because I can't imagine why anybody would have thought of that thing unless they were in a depressed state themselves, and maybe that would be a better place to start. But it does identify the topic. You do have a pretty clear thesis statement at the beginning of the presentation. There's not really a preview of the supporting material. You kind of dive right into your first supporting point before we know ultimately where you're headed with this. And I think that's a little bit problematic. But once you get started on the presentation, I like the fact that you used examples and stories to kind of illustrate these ideas. You've got the one woman who used her writing to help her get through her depression, and then you tell her story about some successes that she had as a result of that. And I think I could use a little bit more information about how the writing helped her manage and cope. It wouldn't probably be a problem to find a couple of paragraphs from her book and use those in talking about that kind of thing. I'll bet there's something that she said in her book that helps explain why putting it on paper made it feel like she was in control, or it took power away from the bullies, or it let her let off emotional steam without having to do something, that might have been dangerous or antisocial, that kind of thing. It wouldn't surprise me at all that there's something like that in the book, and that would have made it a little bit more involving. But I like the fact that you're using a person here to kind of illustrate that point. I think that works really well. And you do that on the other points as well, which is what makes the material more interesting to us, is that we're hearing a story as it goes along with this. And then a couple of places you do integrate some other information. For example, on the second point, when you're talking about exercise, you've got the one story about the guy exercising and how it helped him overcome his anxiety or his depression issues. He had that suicide attempt and that kind of thing. And then how the exercise kind of moved him. And I like the bar graph that you have. When you show it, I think you're showing it just a few seconds later than you need to. It needed to be earlier in that section of material, because you've got this you start describing what's on the bar graph without having the bar graph up there. And I'm going, why are we listening to this? And it turns out that it's really about a comparison about how people do recovering from their depression without exercise, with drugs only, with drugs and exercise, that kind of thing. I'm going, okay, now I understand why that's there. But without having the visual at the same time, I think it was a little bit confusing. So it's just one of those things that if it was integrated a little bit earlier into that section, I think it probably would have worked better. And mostly the visuals, they don't add a huge amount of information to the speech, but they do kind of help us transition from one section to the next. You've got the three sections. You've got writing, exercise, and reaching out to others. The reaching out to others section of material is the one that seems like it's the least developed. The slide that you had seemed to come out of nowhere, with the hotline on it. If you were going to be talking about how people need to find self-help groups for depression, or groups that help people deal with their grief, or any kind of group that helps people cope with self-esteem issues like being overweight or alcoholic or something along those lines, and how those groups can sometimes help people manage their depression too. Again, a couple of additional stories here or there about that would be helpful. And then say, and then if you can't find any help, you know what? Online there are ways to get help. On the phone there are ways to get help. Here, for example, is the hotline number for, because you just kind of put the slide up and you start talking about it, and I'm going, wait, what, huh? What happened? You know, it just kind of came from left field very quickly. So you need to transition into that kind of material. But it's nicely organized. Like I said, I like the stories that you tell. The visuals don't add a huge amount of extra information to the presentation, but they do help organize it, and there's some content on each of those points. So you're doing a pretty good job. Now, presentation-wise, delivery-wise, we got to work on that, because you're doing a lot of reading. You're not talking to us. You're kind of just talking in front of us. It's kind of like you're reading your notes out loud to yourself, and you need to kind of engage us. And that's what we're going to be doing starting today. We're going to finish this assignment, and we're going to start working on presentation issues. So that'll be something I'm sure we'll get better now. All right, thank you.